Folks, we're down to about our final 8 minutes together, and I would like to close as always with some software tips and tricks, things that hopefully are going to help you increase your revenue in your club with this powerful tool that you already own. And I hope some of these things that I'm about to show you are also going to reinforce a few of the things that our guest speakers told you today. Let's begin with member attributes. This is I'm on the More Options menu right here, and let's go to button number 8, Member Attributes. One of the very nice things about member attributes is that they are user configurable. In other words, you can edit the existing attributes or you can add a new attribute by clicking here on Add New Attribute. Now, one of the things that we recommend that you use to better your club and your business is to enter a member's X factor, that real reason that they gave you when they first signed up, as an attribute. Now, Christy, our first interviewee, and I hope that you caught before the break her interview, gave some really excellent advice and suggestions about the inevitable when a member quits, and inevitably happens. And when a member does quit or cancel their membership, she had some beautiful advice and suggestions, including making that a pain-free and comfortable process for them, because you will see them again in your local community. And hopefully, if you remain on good terms and you did make it a pain-free and comfortable and easy process when they needed to cancel for whatever reason, it keeps the door open for them coming back later. However, short of that cancellation, one of the interesting things Christy said, what they always do when a member comes in and wants to cancel or calls and says that they need to cancel, is they tell them the reason they originally joined and then ask them the reason why they are now canceling. And you know, a lot of times when you throw that X factor back at them, it's that magic thing that it takes to make them think, well, you know, you're right, come to think of it, you know, not that much has changed. The X factor is still valid, whatever it might be, and maybe it helps prevent that cancellation. So you know what? Come here under Member Attributes and put in their X factor as an attribute, and then assign whatever it happens to be. Now, there's only going to be so many X factors, so create an attribute for it. And here's a few tips and advice that we have for you on how to name these as an attribute. First of all, precede it by typing X dash. That way you'll know it's an attribute. In fact, this does two very important things for you. First of all, when you go to assign the attribute, it keeps them all in alphabetical order, right? They're not all wildly all over the place. You have X dash the first one, X dash the second one, so all of your X factors come together alphabetically under the attributes. And then when you choose one and assign it to a member as an attribute, if you're looking at their attributes later, you won't be looking at that later and say, you know, the mother factor or the reunion or whatever it happens to be. And you go, what in the world is that? It'll say X dash reunion, so you know that that was their X factor. So useful to have their X factor right there at your fingertips if they ever want to cancel. Also, when you're making miss you calls because they haven't been in for a while, how neat would that be if you call them and say, hey, we've missed you, you haven't been in, and you know something? When you joined here, you told me that your real reason for joining was this. Why haven't you been in the last week or the last 2 weeks? Very powerful stuff. And one final bit of advice in regards to using the attributes as X factors. Go ahead and use this feature right here where it says alert on sign-in if it is what we call a time-sensitive X factor. For example, let's say a person joins and tells you that their real reason for joining is because they have an upcoming reunion. All right, so they want to look a little better, feel better about themselves at this reunion. So that's their X factor. Okay, you hope they're going to be a member at your curves forever, for the rest of their life. But based on the fact that they're joining because of this reunion, you know that you have a limited time frame between now and the reunion to really give them that extra little bit of attention, work with them, stay with them on their weigh and measure report, ensure that they're meeting their goals. And if you send them off to that reunion looking and feeling great about themselves, hopefully they will be your member for life. I mean, how neat would it be if a member comes in, that red little dot appears next to her name here on the day's attendance panel, you click on her name and it shows you it's because of an attribute set to alert on sign-in. You look at it and it says reunion, Denver in January. So you know she has 4 months, okay? Now keep an eye on her. You see her on the circuit, you see her on the first machine, she's slacking just a little. Run right up to her, get in her face, and you go, hey, what are you doing? Reunion, Denver, 3 months to go. Work it, right? How neat would that be? Just that extra little bit of attention to the member. She will love it, she will appreciate it, and hopefully it will mean that she reaches her goals. One final bit of advice on attribute, and then I want to tell you other few tips. Don't go nuts with creating an attribute for every single different type of X factor. Let me give you an example. Somebody does tell you that their X factor is an upcoming reunion. You know what? There are lots of different reunions. There is a high school reunion, there is a college reunion, there is a family reunion. Don't create an attribute for every single one. Just create an attribute for an X factor called X-reunion. Nice and simple, because it all implies the same thing. This person is meeting a group of their friends or peers or family that they're probably not seen for a while, and they want to look better, feel better about themselves before they get to that reunion. You can always enter notes in the attribute. For the example I just gave, we absolutely suggest that you do. Put in what type of a reunion it is. High school, college, family, or whatever. Put in the date of the reunion, the location of the reunion, because that helps you to better help the member. Okay, let's take a look at a few other things that I want to give you as tips and tricks in the last few minutes that we have together. One of the things that you can use to increase your revenue by increasing your membership base is corporate sponsorship. Now, this is a whole topic unto itself. I'm going to go through it very quickly. We actually have an entire webinar dedicated just to this topic, and I'm going to tell you how you can get some more information about that. Real briefly, however, let's go over here to the reports section, member reports, and you want to go for the member list by employer. And I'm taking a little shortcut here to pull it up. What this is going to do is show you all of your members by employer. And you will see, because the employers are listed in alphabetical order, you will very quickly start to see when you have 3, 4, 5, or more members who all work for the same employer. Now, what this does is it gives you an opportunity to approach that employer anonymously. In other words, you go to them and say, the reason I'm here today is because I've noticed that a few of your employees have all come and started to sign up at my curves. Then you extol the virtues of exercise and what that means for an employer. Say, hey, studies have consistently shown people who work out are happier, healthier, and have higher energy levels. What's a benefit to you of an employer? Employees who have greater on-the-job productivity, who miss fewer days because of sick days. You are reaping the benefit of this. So how about if you talk to a few of your employees? I'm not going to give you their names because I don't want to violate their privacy. But start talking to a few of your employees. Ask them, hey, do any of you work out at the curves down at 123 Main Street? See if they like it. See if they would recommend their friends. And if so, what about if you start a corporate sponsorship program where you pay for the memberships, or at least subsidize the memberships of those employees who would like to come work out at our facility, because you are going to reap the benefits. Now, one of the things that you might find that is a common objection to this program is as follows. Some people will tell you, well, you know what, we've tried that in the past, or we would love to try it, but the same thing always happens. We end up paying for their memberships, they end up never working out, and we end up absorbing all the cost but reaping none of the benefit. Okay, there's something very powerful that the iGo figure system allows you to do to help overcome that objection. Go to the member's record, just a member at random. Doesn't even have to be one of the members who is an employee there. As a matter of fact, it would probably be better if it wasn't. And just choose a member at random who has a generic last name, Miss Smith or Miss Jones, and pull a attendance report for the last month. Very important now, not a personal weight loss report, because that's a confidential document. You don't want to be showing that to anybody's employer, but pull an attendance report. And then come armed to the presentation when you approach that employer with an attendance report and a key tag. And if they raise that objection, say to them, well, you know what, that's an excellent point. And let me tell you what, at our curves we use a very sophisticated and high-tech computer and software system that will help avoid that. And show them the report, just lay it out there on their desk and the key tag and say, look, we have these barcoded key tags. They are read by a laser swiper. Every time that a member comes in, they scan in, we keep track of their attendance. And the computer allows us to do a few very powerful things. First, it tracks attendance and will automatically generate miss you cards and alert us to do miss you calls if a member hasn't been coming in. So we assist you with that consistency in getting the member in. And then second, we can print this report right here that shows exactly how many times a member has been in. Now, put the responsibility on them, the employer. In other words, tell them, listen, what would be the acceptable minimum number of workouts to you that one of your employees would have to do before you would feel comfortable paying for their membership or subsidizing their membership? And you can even tell them, say, listen, we at Curves recommend that a member work out 3 times per week. That's 4 weeks per month, 12 times per month. So you tell us how many times per month minimum would be acceptable. And usually they'll say something like, 7 or 10, or 12 is a good number, especially if that's what you recommend. But the important point is that by giving them the power to establish that number, it empowers them. It makes them feel in control. And you'll very quickly establish a cutoff number and say, well, that's reasonable. I'd say if one of our employees works out 7 or 10 times minimum per month and can prove that to me through this workout report, then yes, I would pay for or subsidize their memberships. You will be amazed. You can easily use this technique and the power of your software to turn 4 members into 40. Couple of quick closing thoughts about this particular idea, and then I'll move into one final idea, and we're going to be done here for the day. First, some of you may wonder, well, what do I need this report, employers, members by employer report? There's a space right on the fitness assessment for the employer. Why can't I just go directly to the employer? Don't ever do that. You want to wait until you have a few, preferably 3, 4, or 5 minimum employees who all work for the same employer. And the reason is, otherwise, it's a huge violation of their privacy. If some member joins, and you immediately run to her boss and say, hey, look, Sally, who works for you, just joined at my Curves. You want to, pay for a few other people to join? Sally might be very upset with you, and she might say, that was absolutely not your place and none of your business to go running to my employer and let them know that I just joined at your Curves. And she's got a very good point. But when you see from the Go Figure member by employer report that 3 or 4 or 5 different people have all joined, it allows you to, like I said, approach that employer anonymously. Say, I'm here because 5 of your employees have joined at my Curves in the last month. There must be something to this. You find out who they are for yourself, but I think you'll find if you do ask around that they love it and that you will reap the benefits of subsidizing memberships for your employees at my facility. Okay, one final thing that I want to tell you about. Again, this is something that Christy touched upon with member cancellations, and she did say the success that she has had when she makes it a comfortable experience and lets people go on good terms, that they end up coming back to her. And you can help control this by sending follow-up communications to your archived members. Now, we talked in detail about how to do this in the last iCamp, so I'm just going to show you by reference. You go to the report wizard, create a member report, and I won't really take you any further than that. I'll say watch the previous recording to see the detailed steps, but you can use this member report to send targeted communications to your previous members, your inactive members, your archived members. See about implementing some type of a program where 3 or 4 times per year you do some type of communication, mass mailing to your previously archived members, and let them know you've missed them, you'd welcome them back. Maybe you're even offering some type of a special if they return and they rejoin. Now, with version 3.8, there's also a new feature that allows you to exclude archived members who do not wish to be contacted. Again, we talked about some in the last iCamp, and that will also help you manage this process.